Hey guys, it's Chad. Welcome to Strengthening Dads by Video. So we got a little bit behind on the year, and that's okay. So I wanted to take this last part of teaching love, teaching relationship, teaching engagement, connection to our kids in the adolescent years, right? The teenage years, 12 to 19. Like I emailed you, I thought, let's do it by video so I can get this to you so we can get on to our next part, and that's looking at teaching our kids about limits or discipline or how to get our kids to obey. Okay, so remember the principle in love and connection is I get you, I'm with you, always translates you love me no matter what. When a person of any age, but especially a kid and especially a teenager, when they believe, man, my dad gets me, my dad is with me, will always translate to that kid, man, my dad loves me no matter what. And so that's the principle that we're trying to kind of figure out how to apply in different settings, different stages, different scenarios. Okay. All right. Well, how do we do that with teenagers? How do we do that in adolescence, right? The transition from childhood to being an adult. How do you relate to a teenager? Okay. What do they need when it comes to love, connection, and engagement? By far, as you know, this is the most complicated season of life. You probably remember from your own teen years. It's the most where you will daydream about being an empty nester, I promise you. Okay. Have you ever heard the phrase, kids are like dogs, but teenagers are like cats? Well, it's true, right? You know, you come home from work and dogs are like, so excited to see you, so excited to see you, right? And then, you know, the cat sitting in the windowsill looks over you and it's kind of like, who made you God and why are you in my house? Well, that's kind of like kids. You come running in the home and kids are like, Daddy, Daddy, can't wait to see you. You know, you walk in the door and the teenagers are like, huh, right? And they don't even notice your existence. You know, you tell them dinner's ready and they're like, ugh, this again. Can't you just go get takeout or go get DoorDash? And they, you know, turn their nose up and say things like, I'd rather starve than eat this. And they can just be so, you know, stinking confusing in this stage, right? We now have 4 in full-blown teenager mode. When they cop an attitude, I like to joke around and go, Ording, we got a 7, 9, 6. We got teenager mode, over now. It's my little way of kind of teasing, having fun. But, you know, it's like 1 week they can't stand us. 1 week they want to trade us. And they're like, leave me alone, don't talk to me. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you know, 10 o'clock at night, they come knocking on the door, you know, and they come in crying, asking to hold them, spilling their guts, wanting to talk about problems in their life and get advice, you know, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought you couldn't stand me, and now you like want me to be with you. That's teenagers, okay? So, first, what we want to try to do in this stage is we want to look for opportunities to embrace that they're separating, okay? We want to have eyes. We want to be able to look out, to look for ways that they're trying to separate, ways that they're trying to push away, or ways that they're trying to move towards independence. The biggest thing is to try to ask God to give you eyes to look for where they're wanting to distance themselves from you, where they're wanting to separate, where they're wanting to get independence. That is a good thing, guys. Teenager boys, teenager girls who are trying to kind of distance, separate, and push, that's not bad. That's not unhealthy. That's good. That means they're growing wings, okay? Leaving and cleaving does not start a marriage, okay? Good parenting, good enough parenting, begins to initiate that and help the kids as they initiate that with you in adolescence. God begins to bring it. Don't fight it. Learn to embrace it. This is a phenomenal thing because, once again, them wanting to distance, them wanting to kind of do their own thing, separate, find their own identity, independence, is just God beginning to go, I'm starting to grow more wings in them, and God's prepping them to be adults. A lot of parents, especially if you were really, really close and connected during the younger years, start to freak out, right? All the time I'll get mamas like, my teenager doesn't talk to me, doesn't want to talk to me, and I'll say, you know, I'm so sorry, and you know, and they'll say things like, you know, he or she, they just don't want to be around us. They don't see what's going on in their lives. And, you know, I'll ask things like, well, I mean, I'm just curious, like, what would you want to talk with them about, right? What would you want to know? You know, what they're doing in their dating life, where they're going, and making sure they're not getting in trouble. And, you know, all of a sudden you're like, gee, I wonder why they're not wanting to share with you. Okay? They're not foolish, okay? But this is a season, it really stretches you in this phase, okay? But I want you to take time to think about what can you begin to accept and what can you begin to let go of, right? This is a stage where you got to learn how to do a lot of compromising in your parenting, and you got to learn how to do a lot of listening as they're starting to form their own identity and separate. A lot of your family values, a lot of things you hold dear really start to get challenged. I mean, we knew, right, just so you know, when a kid hits 16 and gets their license, they've left home. Kids don't leave home when they're senior year. Kids leave home at 16 when they get their license. Just prep for it. And so we knew, right? But what we weren't ready for was, just how much we value family time, getting time around the family, making time for the family, and the way that just began to collide, with our kids forming their own identity, distance, and separating. And so, we had to do a lot of talking, we had to do a lot of listening, we had to do a lot of, compromising and rethinking through things so that we could find a way to keep the values, keep the priorities that we have, as well as help them distance, separate, and get their own identity. Okay. It's going to be things like they want an earring stud in the ear. They want a belly button ring. They want a tattoo on the wrist or on their shoulder. They want a challenge they think should have a different curfew. They want total driving freedom. They want freedom to drive everybody in their car. They want freedom to ride with anybody all the time. Cell phones, right? Devices, social media hostage demands, right? Dating, when they can date, how they can date, who they can date. Going to parties where they know there's drinking and they know there's drugs and potentially fighting, okay? New paint that you hate, that they demand they have to have in their room. New posters in their room that you think are absurd or ridiculous. They start putting up flags, or they start picking political opinions and putting political stuff up and on their car, right? Game with their friends, wanting to go line dancing, movies you don't like. I mean, just you name it, and they're going to challenge you. They're going to start to begin to form things, and you're like, man, did you even get raised in my home? Like, did you even pay attention to the values we were trying to download into you? Gosh, it's normal. It's totally normal, okay? Now, the question is why, okay? And why should you begin to be a dad who's looking for the ways they're trying to separate and begin to embrace it and to figure out how to work with them, okay? First is the dad who listens to them and goes, okay, I know this isn't, what I want or where we're at, but let's talk through this, let's think through this, and let's see, how I can meet you halfway. This feels very loving to them, okay? They sense that you respect them. They sense that you trust them. It's non-verbally saying, hey, I'm all in on you becoming a man. I'm all in on you becoming a woman. I'm all in on you becoming bigger, right? Now, obviously, okay, responsibility earns privileges, right? We teach our kids responsibility, that freedom is the gift from responsibility. As you're showing us more and more responsibility, we're going to give you a lot more freedom, right? The way God's world works is when the more responsible, the more reliable you are, you get a bigger world. But the more irresponsible, the more unreliable you are, God gives you a smaller world. It's your choice, okay? Second, consider your options here, okay? If you reject this and you just kind of force them to stay in your home and under your control, they're going to be 30 on the couch and they're 38 on the couch and be like, hey, Mom, go make me a sandwich, right? What Hot Pockets we got? You don't want to resist this till they clip their wings and now they don't want to leave. Third, I can promise you, they will lock in and they will make this as miserable as they have to, or they will make this as hard as you want it to be, okay? They will do the separation thing the easy way, or they will do the separation thing the hard way. They will not back down. And it's because they're not supposed to. It's the stage where God is beginning to grow them into themselves. One of the biggest things I want you to realize is one of the biggest reasons why your teenagers have become either overly compliant and you're worried that they're people pleasers or don't have an identity, or they look so super compliant and you're kind of like, oh man, like, can they stand alone? The reason why your kids go rebel, like big rebel, little rebel, or the reason why they go sneaky and dishonest is a lot of times because of this. You're not letting them separate. You're not letting them grow distance. You're not giving them that space. And so when this happens, they're either going to go compliant, which is long-term dangerous, they're going to go rebel, or they're going to go sneaky, okay? God creates bird eggs in a nest that are 30 feet above the ground, not to stay there, but to one day grow wings to fly and leave, okay? There's a day coming when that bird is gonna separate, create identity, and leave. But it does not, for a human, start at 18 when they leave for college. It starts in the adolescence years. Some of them start as early as 12, 13. Some start 16 or 17. It's all different, but you gotta look for it. Remember that. If they're not separating, you have a bigger problem on your hands, okay? The kid who's not separating, the kid who's not showing distance, the kid who's not starting to find out on independence, that's a bigger problem actually than the kid that's starting to kind of push back, okay? Some friends helped us to hover a lot around this principle, okay? It's the principle of trustworthiness in this stage. Like when you're asking, how do I begin to, navigate? Should I give them distance? Should I compromise and make some changes in our family system? Okay. We talk a lot about, again, the whole principle of trustworthiness, mastering your preparation, responsibility, reliability, right? Making good decisions in life normally gets you a world where your world gets bigger. Making bad decisions in life normally means your world is going to get smaller. It's your choice, okay? And so one of the things we stress a ton in our teenager years is I say, hey, listen, I get it. You want to be able to go to this place, okay? However, I continue to see you be irresponsible and unreliable here. And until these things start to show mom and I some really good responsibility and reliability, not perfect, but some good stuff, consistency, you're not getting this bigger world over here of freedom. But if you show us, then we'll get this bigger for you, okay? That's been a good principle that was taught to us that we try to use a lot. Again, the more responsible you are, the more trustworthy you are, the more freedom you get, the more privileges you get, the bigger your world gets. And it works vice versa in reverse. The more irresponsible, the more unreliable, the smaller your world gets, and you're basically just hanging out with mom, dad, and like a book. It's your choice, okay? If you want us to dialogue and adjust, then you've got to demonstrate growing ability to make good decisions, okay? It's hard for us to listen to you if you're going to keep making bad decisions. So little things like we tell them, when I see your schoolwork, I better see no missing assignments, no late assignments. Why? Because that's something you can completely control, and that is an easy mark of showing me you're responsible, reliable, and trustworthy. Another thing we do in our home is chores. I should see all your chores are done, consistently done without us asking. That's going to show mom and I trustworthy, responsible, reliable. In the morning, getting up, making your breakfast. The night before, having your lunch made, having all your clothes laid out. When it's time to leave for school, that you're earlier on time to leave. I try to show them all these little dials are things we're paying attention to that are showing us whether or not you get a bigger world or get a smaller world. Don't make this hard. Look for easy things, okay? The Bible talks about how everything is permissible, but not everything is permissible in Corinthians, but not everything is beneficial. We like to talk about that a lot too, okay? That, just because we have the ability to do anything doesn't mean we should do everything. And just because we have the ability or the age to do things, it doesn't mean everything is beneficial. And so in the teenager years, freedom is the banner of their heart. But you got to teach them freedom means that you have to be selective, right? Not everything is beneficial, and that takes time, okay? Good time here to link a lot of things to scripture on principles like this, especially in Proverbs, okay? In general, trying to relate to them as real people, not as kids, okay? Without loving our authority, the more you show them, hey, I get it. I want you to grow into you. I want you to become who you're called to be. Like, I love that. I am with you. Let's figure this out together. That speaks volume to them. And it just disarms them, okay? The parent who constantly comes in and is like, you're only 16. This is my home. These are my rules. These are my ways. You will call me father and you will honor our home. Now, you can do that. And at times that's good. But the person who keeps doing that and always does that, you're going to lose them. I mean, that's the kid who one day comes home, they've shaved their head and joined the National Communist Society, I promise you. You just can't live there 24/7, okay? In a sense, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a home, you're trying to create a culture where there's authority, but there's room to discuss and dialogue, okay? There's room that as they're separating, they know mom and dad will listen and they're for me. And as I'm being trustworthy, reliable, they're going to be willing to make changes as I get bigger. Okay. Where the teen gets to a point that they own, you are my authority, but I am becoming my own authority and my own person. And when we do this dance together, mom and I, dad and I relate to them as their authority, but I start sharing my identity, who I am. When we do this, it goes pretty good. It goes well. We want them to kind of build that good experience inside. And you get to a point where you, as the parent, you own it. That you have one hand locked in. I'm the authority. It's our home. It's our rules. It's our values. And we know what we're building. But one hand open, going, we got to be willing to listen. We got to be willing to change. We got to be willing to make adjustments. Always willing to listen. Always willing to consider. Always willing to adjust. Okay. A few examples of separating. When our oldest was in 10th grade, he came home one night and he's like, hey, next week all my friends are going to a country line dancing club. I mean, I literally, I was like, oh, really? Like Kristen and I didn't even think to ask something like that until college. New world, new place, new time, right? I remember in 10th grade, he was like, hey, there's this concert in town. Everybody's not going to get home till 1:30, 2 a.m. Can I go? And we're like, oh, geez, right? That's them wanting to separate. That's him wanting to have his own identity. That's him wanting to distance, okay? One son, we were at a football game together, and this was interesting. And after the game, we're getting pictures with the athletes and stuff. And he's like, hey, can I get my phone back? I want to take some pictures. And I want some pictures of just me and the player. And I'm like, dude, like we're getting pictures like me and you and your brothers and da-da-da. Like he's like, I don't want those. Like I want pictures just me and the player, right? And I was like, well, fine. Here's your thing. I'll go hang out with your siblings. And man, I was so mad. I was so frustrated. And I was so ticked off, right? And, a couple hours later, we joke about it. He apologizes. But I stewed on it for a few days. And I just started thinking, I was like, man, why does this whole scenario not sit well with me? And I began to realize I missed it. He was giving me an example to see him separating. He was giving me an example to show he was doing independence, trying to be him. Him, in a healthy way, was like, me prefer to have just selfies, pictures of me and this college football player. There's nothing wrong with that. That's who he is. That's what he wants. I should have been like, yeah, dude, here you go. Go get a Coke and smile. And what I realized was he is so secure in our love and our relationship that he felt total freedom to say, Dad, get out of my photos. But I missed it, right? And I had to go back and I had to repent. And he was like, yeah, Dad, I didn't mean you any disrespect. He's like, I just, I got some with y'all, but I just really want a lot of me and that person. And I was like, man, I blew it. And I'm sorry. Let's repair this. And you were just trying to grow and become a man. And I didn't see it, my insecurities. And, so we did love, fail, repair, and it turned out to be a really good moment. And I was glad God let me see it. Okay? So looking for ways that they're separating independence. Second is, this is the hard part, learning to talk with them and not to them. Learning to talk with them and not to them. It's learning, it's relating to them, not from the over position that I'm the authority, not from the under that I'm your friend, but I'm coming in next to you at the same time, okay? Learning to talk with them instead of to them, and learning to relate to them from the next to position and not the over or under, okay? This is the art of learning how to talk with them and not at them or to them. To help make sense of this, okay? Let's talk about authority structures in our lives that we all have. Okay, so right now I'm kind of like over you. I'm teaching you, I'm coaching you, I'm parenting, right? And you're in a sense relating to me coming under me. Now, let's say next week, right? Let's say next week we go out to eat, and you know a lot about cars and I don't. And I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. And you're teaching me, you're coaching me about step by step what I got to do to fix my car. Well, now in that moment, all of a sudden our roles have changed. You're kind of relating over to me and I'm relating under you, right? We all have that in our life. We do it all the time, okay? But there's actually a third way we relate to each other. Not where we're over and not where we're under, but where we come in neither or next to you, okay? And that's where we're operating, not from over you or under, we're operating from a neither, just side by side, eye to eye, just coming in next to you, okay? It's true from, the time they're born up until adolescence, so much of our parenting is over, right? Like, don't do that. Don't pick the dadgum dog again, right? Don't do that. Don't put the cat in the bathtub, right? It's cold outside. Go put a jacket on. Stop it. Don't put the knife in the outlet, right? I don't want to see that again. No more games trying to land the frisbee on the glass chandelier, right? Like, just you're constantly relating over them, right? And what's hard is that God asks us to begin to morph or change how we relate to them as they get older and they grow into teenager years and adulthoods. Okay, it's called next to them, or it's called relating from the neither position, not the over, not the under, the neither. And this is where I'm relating to you not as over you as a boss, okay, or under you where I'm trying to please you and keep you happy, but where I'm coming in kind of like, hey, I'm just a dude like you, and I need to be with you, and I want to be curious about you, and I want to come alongside you. I want to ask lots of questions, okay? I'll give you an example. Let's say this week I go out to lunch with a guy named Bob, good friend of mine, okay? And he's an engineer. So Bob and I are hanging out, he's an engineer, and all of a sudden at lunch, he says, bro, I want to let you know, I'm quitting my job, I'm selling everything, and I'm starting a country rock band, all right? I'm in. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not waiting any longer. I'm going all in on my music career. And you're like, dude, that's insane, man. Like, I need more country music in my life, especially from you, right? And you're like, you're all geeked up and you're like, dude, when, how, why, where are you going to do it? And you're curious, right? You're coming in eye to eye, you're coming in next to him, asking questions, excited, wanting to help. That's how we relate to our teenagers and all their crazy, lame, weird, off the ideas and thoughts in life, right? In that same meeting with Bob, it would not be good for all of a sudden for me to swoop in and now jump over him and be like, oh, okay. So I guess, you don't believe in being responsible as a 38-year-old man, huh, Bob? I guess, you just think these whole, principles of, being reliable and a provider, I guess, doesn't matter to you, huh, right? How are you going to have insurance, right? How are you going to have your pension? Like, it would not be appropriate for me to start doing that all of a sudden. And I wouldn't, okay? Because I'm next to him. Well, we parent littles mostly from the over position, but we parent teenagers more and more and more from the next to or the neither, okay? But we parent them from the over and the neither both at the same time. Okay, where when we come in or when we lead with next to parenting or the neither position, it normally guides us when and if we need to come in from the over position and not vice versa. Okay, so for example, let's say something happens and let's say your kid gets detention at school, right? And you're catching up, you're chatting with them, talking. You're first coming in from the next to neither, like, hey, what happened? Like, tell me about what happened, what transpired. Oh, you got detention. Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, you felt like you were misunderstood and this led to this, right? Oh yeah, I've been there. And I've been there in my life when I was misunderstood and so forth, right? And you're listening, you're genuinely coming in curious. You're coming into the next to neither, right? Just like you would any other friend. Okay. And you're paying attention to them and you're talking with them. As I'm listening, like, it's clear they learned their lesson. It's clear, like, they're taking their lumps. Like, there's no need for me to shift and do the over position and be like, hey, if you don't get this fixed, it's going to happen again. And if you keep doing this and you're going to have it on your college record, that's the over position. When I come in with the next to position, I'm learning where they're at, where their heart's at, and I decide if that's even needed or not. Now, the kid who's like, this is totally stupid, I'm going to do it again, blah, 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 and they're blowing it off, well, after you've listened and been next to them, you might want to say, hey, just so you know, I love you, but if you do that again, you're going to get double lumps at school, and I'm probably going to have to take your keys if you do that again, right? Now it's needed, okay? My biggest mistake in the teenager years has been holding too tight to the over position with my teenagers. You will do what we say. You will do it now. That's final. You do that again, your social life is over, pal, right? If that happens, kiss your keys, kiss your phones goodbye. I can tell you I fail at this way too much. And that's when I get my biggest problems, my biggest headaches, and my biggest butting heads with my teens, okay? And of course, right? Like, of course, you also see way too many at this stage who try to go under, where they try to be their friend or they try to be their BFF, right? Where they start like negotiating with a child or just kind of always want to like, hey, cuddle, tell me the latest thing. And, you know, the under position at this stage is very tempting for people to just try to want to get their affection and want to get their kids' smile, and they try to just go buddy with them. Again, it is never a good thing when your kid says your BFF or my mom or dad's my best friend, because friends don't have authority over people's lives. When a child begins to think you're their buddy or their friend, they've lost that internal respect that you are their authority, and it's very hard to get back, okay? Engaging, teaching them about love and connection, even coming in with the, hey, I'm with you, I'm next to you, that's just loving them, engaging them well. That's not trying to be their buddy. Both sides, coming in from the over too much or coming in from the under too much, will lead a kid to go compliant, be the rebel, or get sneaky faster than ice cream melting in the Sonoran sun in June, I promise you, okay? So you're looking for opportunities to treat them like a real person, talking with them out of respect, like a friend meeting for coffee, where you keep being intentional to not talk down to them, like a little child, but to talk with them as a growing adult, okay? A few examples. Let's say the kid comes home and they're like, I hate school, I'm never gonna go to college, this is just dumb, I'm just gonna go, whatever, figure this out. Studying isn't needed to be rich and successful. Teenagers are notorious for saying this, okay? Well, the parent who always has to parent from the over position says, well, fine, I hope you like being a garbage man when you grow up, or hope you like being a cash register lady at Safeway when you get older, because that's exactly what you're gonna become when you don't buckle down, right? Where the parent just takes the bait, and that's talking to them from the over immediately. That's not what we wanna do, okay? The next two, or the neither parent, doesn't take the bait, okay? They're gonna look at that kid and go, really? Huh, okay. Well, tell me why you hate school so much, right? Tell me why you think college is lame. Like, tell me I'm just curious. Like, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna figure this out? Like, what's your plan that you're gonna be successful and rich without studying? I just would like to know, because maybe I can try it in my own life, right? But you could do something like, well, what do you hate about school? And the kid's like, everything. I hate everything. It's all dumb. It's all lame. Teachers are lame. Huh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I kind of hated everything when I was in school too. It drove me nuts, right? Is there anything you do like? Lunch. Lunch is good. Yeah, lunch is good. They still got those chocolate milks for like 25 cents. And they're like, and the kid's like, yeah, inflation, it's like $1. Oh yeah, I get it. But yeah, I like chocolate milk, Dad. Okay, cool. What's your favorite lunch? Like, what's the best thing they serve at that place, right? You see what I'm doing, okay? I'm having a conversation with a real person that's preparing to leave my home. And I'm resisting all of my anxiety that wants to go to the over position and say, you have got to study, you got to take school serious, you got to do this, blah, 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 blah. All that does is exactly what they wanted. It fuels and gets you into a power struggle, okay? I want to do real talk with them. What do you hate about school? Why don't you like studying? Why do you hate economics, okay? What do you like? Dude, I get it. I was in school for 25 years of my life, and I thank God every day that I'm done with school. I'm sure many of you are the same way, okay? You want to use these opportunities to have conversations with them, okay? And again, like we say, you're never going to be perfect. I fail at this all the time. Good parents are good enough. They try to love their kids. They fail, they admit those failures, and they come in and say, let's repair it, okay? So don't panic, all right? We're gonna do both. We're gonna do the over position and the next two position, okay? Where I'm gonna try to talk with them. I'm gonna parent from the neither posture first, because I'm not trying to be their friend, okay? And in other words, I'm gonna parent from the neither posture first, and because I'm not trying to be their friend, I'm not going to get let go of the over-parenting part either, but timing is gold with teenagers, okay? Give you an example. Not too long ago, one of my teens, who was like, I could care less about this test next Friday. I'm just gonna wing it. I don't really cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna wing it. I'm gonna coast. I think I'll figure it out, and so I can just be. I'm so done with school for the year, right? And you're like, it's only halfway through the year, dude. And he's like, I don't care. I'm just gonna wing this test, and then so I can get on and go get hunting in the weekend. And so I'm listening to him. So I did a good job. I went in, I was like, man, tell me why you're frustrated. Tell me why you're so tired of this teacher, why you're so fed up with this class, right? I listened, I asked questions, I did in either position. But as I'm listening, I'm sensing like he's gonna wing this test because he really doesn't care. He finds the subject ridiculous. He finds the class pointless. He thinks the teacher is unjust. And I can just see like he's about to make a bad decision, okay? So after we connected, after I was curious, listened, I just said, hey, dude, I just want you to know I get it. But I just want to remind you, my job is to teach you about life so that you can live in God's world. And so, dude, I could care less. It's your life. I got no skin in the game if you study or if you wing it. But privileges in life come responsibility from responsibilities in life. So I just need you to know, like, if you flunk that test, hunting, fishing, devices, yeah, they're gone for a week, my amigo. Like, comprende? It's your choice. I could care less. But just want you to know, peace out. Love you, dude. And I just walked on. All right? 30 minutes later, that kid was in the office, buckled down, studying. Okay? All right? That's our model. That's love and limits. I related to first from the next to neither position. I listened and I could tell over was needed. Okay. And so then I said, all right, just so you know, here's a limit coming if you choose to do this, but it's your choice. I don't care. It's your life. Okay. Now, if I had heard him going, man, I got this hard test coming up. Dad, I'm going to study and I think I'm going to fail, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to give it my best. I would have never jumped into the over. It wasn't needed. In fact, I would have just done, hey, is there anything else we can do to help you or support you? Okay. I treated him with respect and dignity. I heard him. I was genuinely curious. I engaged. And then I brought appropriate limits because it was needed. Okay. That's what you've got to learn to do with your teenagers. Okay. An example, this one came up, not my family, but somebody was telling me about it. And they've got a kid that just, got into horror movies and it's driving them crazy, right? And the authoritarian, anxious parents like, oh my gosh, all those devil scripts, these filthy people, their twisty minds, I just want to go flush that Stephen King right down the toilet with all of his garbage, okay? Well, if you go and do that, then he's going to come home tomorrow all dressed in black, and like Friday the 13th mass is going to be like his new baseball cap, okay? It'll go bad. So I want you to resist that. Instead, you choose to come next to and say, hey, horror movies. Yeah, I'm not really into those, but like, so what's good? I mean, like, I don't really know a lot about that genre. Like, what's popular? Like, what are the top 3 things that everybody's talking about? Like, what do they like about it? You see what I'm doing? I'm having a real chat with them. I'm having a real conversation with her, okay? And then if it's needed, say something like, oh, and by the way, if you do start to get into that stuff and that's kind of filthy and evil, I might have to set some limits on you to what you watch. Like if I start seeing it change how you think and change how you talk to people, I just want you to know, Mom and I may need to set some limits on how much you're gonna watch. It's your choice, okay? You see, we're doing both. Next to is not giving up your authority, but it's learning if it's learning. Yeah, hold on. Sorry, that was one of our kids. But it's learning if it's needed, okay, to could jump into it, okay? When you do that, that disarms a teen, okay? They come in with their button on a nuclear bomb saying, let's fight, let's go to war for their independence or their way of thinking. And then you do the Jedi mind trick on them and go be next to them. And all of a sudden, it's like they've lost the remote to the bomb. It's pretty powerful. The secret of the universe with teens is your teen will listen to you in obedience about to the same degree that you're willing to listen to them regarding their hearts, their crazy ideas, what that feels like their foolish sense of reality. Listening to them regarding their hearts, then you can swing into obedience if needed. Just so you know, for some of you guys who feels like, you hear this and you say, Turner, it feels like I'm compromising. It is, but it's for their sake to grow into the best version of them that they can become. If you're the one that just feels like in these moments you got to come down hard and just, be like lovingly ruthless, where you say, I'm the parent, I'm right, this is my home, blah, 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 I deserve respect. Listen, I don't agree with you. I don't disagree with you, okay? I do not disagree with you. That's who you are. These are the roles. This is your home. But if you insist on doing that first, the over position, okay, or you insist on keep doing that only or most of the time, I promise you, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose their heart. You're going to exasperate them, and you might not get them back before it's too late. And what I mean by late is they've gotten themselves into some serious trouble or some serious over separation that's hurting their identity and their formation. Now, everything can be repaired, okay, in God's kindness if He lets it happen. But you have to take a chance to give this a try. And when you do, I promise you're going to see incredible things come from it. Last two things with this is, at this season, I normally get a lot of guys that just, it starts stirring up wounds and questions about their fathers, right? When you just start seeing the vision of loving, connecting, engaging, it normally leaves guys in a few places that they start thinking about their own dads quite a bit. So I want to say one thing about your dads, relating, connecting with your dads, and then I got one more tool to give you and we're done. The first kind of reaction I see is guys go, man, did my dad even love me? I'm listening to all this and I just start wondering, did my dad really love me? And I'm sitting with the guys, I'm gonna be like, I don't know him, but yeah, I think so. He stayed around. I'm sure he did, right? Most dads start and end with, I must raise a man. Most dads start and end with discipline, obedience, firmness is how I raise a man. That means that most dads never learn how to engage children. They never learn how to connect with children. They never know how to teach your children love and relationships. They never learn, how do I teach you I love you? How do I do relationships with you? They don't know. And so most of them are operating from only a partial operating system, okay? Most are never taught that they need to learn how to do that first and then learn how to do obedience and discipline. Remember what we've talked about. Rules without relationship equal rebellion. And that means, I think for a lot of your dads, almost all, they really loved you. But this piece that we're talking about now, sadly, they probably never knew about or knew how to do it. They never learned, and you felt that loss your entire life, okay? Guys, remember what we're learning. Love, fail, repair. I challenge you today, okay, that if that's your story with your dad, don't judge them. Don't kick them out of your life. Love, fail, repair. Don't run to abandoning them. Don't run to condemning them. Guys, give it a try to forgive and try to repair. Maybe go get some coffee with them, or maybe go take a fishing trip or something and talk about this. And hey, Dad, I'm learning a lot about this. When I was being raised, what was it like for you trying to figure out how to relate to me, connect to me? Was it hard for you to say I love you? Give it a shot, see what happens. The second is the group that once they start thinking about this, a lot of your dads never connected, but now you have kids and they're killing it as grandfathers. And you see that they never connected with you, but they're connecting with your grandkids, and it can bring a lot of resentment. And it can bring a lot of pain. In your joy, you're excited that you see them nailing and engaging, connecting, but it's kind of like, what the heck? Where was this my whole life? Okay. And men, it's hard. It's really hard. Okay. Why? Why now? What's the deal? And honestly, I want you to remember the same principle is going to be true in their life that is in your life. Time teaches us a lot of things. Okay. Time gives us wisdom. They didn't know how to do it with you, but time and failure in life and reflecting made them realize, I got to figure this out. And so for many of them, many men don't figure it out with their own kids. They figure it out with their grandchildren. They figured it out now that they're in their older years, and now they're all in and trying to do engagement. Talk to them about it. Third, others of you had incredible dads that engaged and connected. And they were with you in life, disappointment, pain, and now they're just very disappointing grandfathers. It's like they're nowhere to be found, they're disengaged, right? The engagement with your kids is nothing like what you got. And guys, it's tough. That's really hard. I had that with my dad. You get mad, you get bitter, sad, And I'm just going to say, guys, again, this is another really, really hard place to be. But again, it's nothing that love, fail, repair can't fix. And the answer, the reality is, I don't really have an answer for you on this one, but I do have a suggestion, okay? And this is from experience, actually. Love, fail, repair. Love, fail, repair. Go plan a special time and say, hey, Pops, we need to talk. When I think about you as my dad, I remember, and I want you to speak the things that you loved about him, speak the things that you remembered, speak the things that were awesome. And then you say, hey, Dad, I want to be honest with you, I'm struggling because my kids aren't getting that man. That's not the kid, that's not the grandfather my kids are getting. And I want them to see that man, know that man. Why, Dad? Talk to me. Why are you not the same grandfather for them that you were as a dad to me? Because I want my kids to experience that. And then be positive, be productive. Dad, how can we get there? How can we help, right? And fellas, that's repair, and see what happens, okay? The last is every week I try to give you a tool, okay? And last week I gave you the tool about working on your family rules and your family values so you don't exasperate your kids. The second tool that we have found to be just really, really powerful is learning your kids' hardwiring, okay? Learning how they're created. Really, really helps us from not parenting in blind spots that exasperates our kids, pushes them into this anger, and blocks the relationship and the connecting, okay? Without realizing it, a lot of parents start expecting things from their kids that don't match who their kids are, okay? It doesn't match how they wire, how they process, how they think. Or they start relating to them in ways that doesn't match how their God-given hardwiring in what they were created to do. Lots of times or grounding them because you think they're being disobedient when all it was the kid was created very different than you, but it came across as disobedience, okay? And I would just say for this, learning how to figure out your kid's hardwiring, I would suggest the Myers-Briggs personality tool. It has been a game changer for me. Very powerful, very dynamite, very helpful, and very practical. I love it because it's easy to learn, it's easy to look for, and it's super practical to understand, especially of how effective it is in knowing the 4 key pillars of this sense of self or sense of identity. Who am I? Okay. Well, what the Myers-Briggs does is it helps you learn and be very aware of the 4 key things that go into our identity or our sense of self. 4 identity components that come up every day with how we interact with the world and with life, okay? Let me give you a quick overview. Basically, for those of you who want to just ask me, and I'll send you the link, but there's many Myers-Briggs out there, but a lot of them, there are some where when you get done taking it, they'll come back with a percentage, right? I feel like extrovert or introvert, and the E will say 62%, or maybe the F will say 70%, okay? And what it does is the primary number is your God-given hardwiring. It's just from now to the day you die, it's your natural go-to of how you're going to, process, see the world, okay? It's your gut reaction. The secondary is your antitype. It's how other people process the world, how other people relate to the world. And it's an opportunity for you to grow in self-awareness, okay? Now, I ignore all the 4-letter combos and profiles and all that crap. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think that's useful. I have learned to focus in on learning each of the 4 sections and what they teach you about how God made you and how God made somebody, okay? And I can tell you they're very helpful in marriage, in leadership development, and with children, okay? Now, when you take the test that has the percentages, okay, I just want you to know that the higher number means you're more immature, you're more trapped in your natural hardwiring that God gave you. A lower number closer to 50%, means that you're more aware. It means you do a good job relating out of your sense of self, but also relating with an awareness of how other people are made or different than you. I'll never forget when I went to college. It was the first time I took this, and on the extrovert, I got like a 99%, I'm not kidding you. And the counselor goes, Mr. Turner, I gotta let you know, in all of my years, I have never had somebody score so high in extroverted. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty special, right? Like, I'm pumped. And I was like, what does this mean? And She's like, oh, honey, no, it doesn't mean that you're special. She said, baby, it means that you're immature. She got a lot of growing up to do. I was like, oh, great. But it was awesome. She began to work with me. And as that number dropped, I found I was more mature, more self-aware. I was more aware of others around me. I was able to relate and understand people better. Okay. Real quick, let me hit the 4 and then we're done today. The first is the extrovert versus introvert. And this is not whether you're shy or outgoing. This is how people get energy. How do people get refreshed? What do you need to do to get grounded? Okay. The extrovert is the person who's always got to be with people. They got to be talking. They got to be playing. They got to be doing something out loud. The more they do that, they get refueled and re-energized. The introvert needs solitude. They need alone time. They need silence. They need quiet play. And as they do that, they get refueled, re-energized. So lots of times when my introvert kids are acting out, I've noticed they've been living in an extroverted world for a while. And I'll say things like, hey, maybe you should go grab a book and read and get alone. Or maybe you should go play with the Legos for 30 minutes just by yourself. Or, hey, maybe you need to go get a nap. Or, like my oldest kids that are now teenagers, I'll say, hey, you've been pushing it for 3 days. God made you be an introvert. You probably need a good nap. You probably need some solitude to recharge from all these people. Bada boom, bada bing. Sure enough, when they do it, it's amazing how they can come back lovely. All it was learning their hardwiring and helping them tap into it. The next one is sensing. It's the S and the I, sensing versus the intuitive. And this is how they process information to move forward and to do work. It's like big pictures versus details, forest versus the tree, okay, that kind of thing. All right. So, excuse me. So the N, the intuitive, those are the big picture people. Details exasperate them. Details exhaust them. They want something in big concepts. They want big pictures. They want the forest. They love to see the vision, the big dream, and everything in between. Just it exhausts them. It alienates them. Well, the S on the other side is the opposite. That person loves details. That person loves tasks. Person loves, if there's a big idea, they want to know, well, what are all the steps to get there? They don't want to look at the tree. They want to see all the forest and the branches of the forest. The more detailed it is, the more they're excited and they're ready to move forward and work. Okay. So again, with my kids, I try to pay attention to this, right? My 15-year-old boy is a big time intuitive. So he really, really does better with big pictures, big ideas. Intricate details or too many details just exhaust him. So I pay attention to that when I communicate with him. Okay. The thinker versus the feeler. This is not about thinking or feeling or any of that kind of stuff. This is all about how people analyze variables to make decisions. Okay. The T or the F is how we analyze variables to make decisions. The thinker analyzes data, facts, truth, objective reality. Normally goes, I got my facts, I'm making a decision. T's don't normally incorporate others into making decisions or ask for people's advice. Feelers, on the other hand, analyze relationships, relational dynamics, people. How do things affect people? How does this have an impact on others? Is this caring, right? And they decide many times through others. So my 11-year-old girl is an F. She's a feeler. And so she's not a people pleaser, which is kind of interesting, but she's an F. So just about every decision, she's like, hey, Daddy, what do we think about that? Or like, hey, Daddy, what do you think I should do? Or, Daddy, I'm trying to decide, should I go with, like pink nails or should I go with yellow nails? What do you think? Now, many parents look at that and they go, oh no, like she doesn't have a sense of identity. She's a people pleaser. Not at all. She's just operating out of her God-given hardwiring. She's an F, okay? They have to, that's what they do to work through the variables, to collect data, to make a decision. Okay, we'll come back to that. So that means like, so when she comes to me, I'll be like, that's great. Well, have you thought about, would you like yellow in 3 days? And I'll ask her questions. I'll give her stuff to think through. Or sometimes I may say, well, here's what I think about that. And now you got to do the rest. So when I do that, that's very loving to her. At the same time, okay, I'm using this to develop her and challenge her. So there's some times where I'll say, well, I think these are two things to consider. Now you need to go make this decision because I know you can do it. Okay. Thinkers, on the other hand, are really, really, really bad about making decisions in isolation. So my kids that are T's, I'll say, hey, before you make that decision, did you go and ask 2 or 3 people? Did you go get counsel? Did you call a mentor? Right? Because I know how their hardwiring is and I know how I'm trying to stretch them. The last is the J or the P. It's the judger versus the perceiver. And this is how you approach time to feel free. Okay? So if you ever feel like, man, I feel free, or I feel like just really oppressed, a lot of it can come from this. So a J, okay, or a judger, they need everything scheduled. So they need everything fixed, planned on the calendar ASAP. So if you say to somebody, hey, let's go get lunch next week. The J is like, okay, well, I'm open Monday at 3, Tuesday at 4, I can do Friday at 6. Which one do you want to do? Why? Because the sooner they get it locked in, scheduled, fixed, planned, they feel free. They can go, I can rest. Now, you can say, hey, let's go get coffee next week, to a P or a perceiver. And they want open, they want flexibility, they want room to adjust. They're always thinking through possibilities. And they're like, hey, get back to me next week because I may have this, I may have that. And then you may look and say, okay, well, I'll call Tuesday. No, let's wait till Thursday. Let's wait till Thursday, and then I think I can lock it in. Why? To lock it in feels oppressive. To keep their options open feels like freedom. They can rest. Okay, and so your kids are like this, right? Really funny to wrap up. We were driving home. I was with my 2 teenage girls the other day, and we're coming home from horseback, and I can't even. We get onto this topic of something big between the 2 girls, and my 2 girls love each other, but they're as different as day is night is. Okay, and so we're getting into this. We're talking through all this. We're wrestling with it, and something comes up. I'm trying to remember what it was, but long story short, I was like, I bet you I could figure this out for you, and I can bet you I can figure this out for 2. And so my 11-year-old looks at me and just goes, you're on, big man. She's like, I'll make you a bet. If you can figure this out, I'll buy you Starbucks. And she's like, if you lose, you got to buy me. I was like, deal. So I looked at her and I said, well, honey, you're an E, all right? So that means you love being with people, you love playing. And so part of what's challenging about this is when you think about it, this is going to be something that you're in solitude. I was like, second, you're an S. And that means you love details. You love having all the tasks. And when you see big picture, really kind of like gets you nervous because you don't know how you're going to get there. And so part of what's really, really hard right now is, honey, you're really struggling because you don't have all the details, all the criteria you need to make a good decision. Third is you're an F, and means you're a feeler. And that means like you think about how things are going to impact people, relate to people, care for people, hurt people. You want to know what other people think when you make a decision. So that's part of the reason why you're in the car right now asking your sister and asking me, what should you do? Because you like getting tons of information from people before you make a decision. And I said, fourth, you are a J. And that means when you have an opportunity to go do something, you feel restless until you can lock it in, have it on the schedule, and have it planned. And because this thing may or may not happen in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, it's making you anxious. And I said, that's what's going on. And she, by the time I got done, I mean, she had like raccoon eyes. But she looked at me and she just goes, she got a little teary-eyed. And she goes, you really understand me, Daddy. Like you really get me better than I get myself, right? And I just looked at her and I said, well, honey, I love you. And so I pay attention. I study you because, I care about you. Now, there wasn't anything special. It was just, I understand the Myers-Briggs. I've learned how my kid's wired. And so I was able to speak into her, okay? That, I promise you, is something that can be very, very, very powerful. If you can find other personality things and stuff like that you can do the same thing and be that practical, by all means, go for it, okay? But speaking into who they are, knowing their natural strengths, it helps them understand who they are when that might be confusing to them, okay? It helps me show how they are different from each other and how they're different from mom and dad. And so like I try to relate to them on big things and how the way they're wired. But when I'm trying to develop them, I work from their alternative type, right? So like my kids that are extroverts, right? I'm working with them on learning how to value solitude, value silence to get refreshed. My kids that are P's that like to keep it flexible and open, I'm trying to work with them on locking in a commitment, setting something on the schedule, and learning how to be scheduled and flexible at the same time. Right, so it can become a great coaching tool. Now that they're getting older, I'm starting to champion them to each other. So maybe one of them's going through something, and I'll be like, "Hey, why don't you go to your big brother? He is really, really, really good, okay, about thinking through the facts to make a decision, and I think he can help you here because she's an F and he's a T." So now they're learning to value each other instead of comparing each other. They're learning to go to each other on what each other's strengths are, and so develop. Okay, it helps me to have a plan to intentionally develop them, help them mature, proactive creating opportunities to learn to lean into their secondary wiring so that I can kind of help them grow. Okay. And I can just say, it's by the time our kids leave our home, they're going to know those 4 areas of how they're made. And hopefully, we've done some work to kind of begin to develop them on how the rest of the world relates to really, really help them in relating to the rest of the world, especially when it comes to love, connection, engagement. Okay. Well, these are some tools. These are some things. I hope it's a blessing to you. Can't wait to see you coming up soon where we start our conversations about how do we get our kids to obey? How do we teach them limits? All right. Have a great week. Bye-bye.